Twin Students of the Sun by White Eyes. Chapter 1. We're going, where? Spike! Where are you? Twilight Sparkle shouted, slamming open the door of her combination dorm room library as she looked about for her number one assistant. She was getting rapidly more annoyed as he failed to reappear. Spike! Where are you? Twilight, the door, again. Came an exasperated voice up on the balcony. Looking up, Twilight saw it was Shimmer, the other personal protege of Princess Celestia. Really? You need to stop doing that. I know dragons are tough, but yikes! I almost think you were doing this on purpose! I would never! Oh my goodness! Spike! Quickly closing the door with a burst of telekinetic magic, Spike flopped around on the floor in front of her, a rude present in hand. Ignoring his muttering about Moondancer's party, she started pacing around. Sorry, Spike, but we have no time to lose. I need you to send a letter to the princess right away. I just discovered that all of Equestria is in terrible danger. Twilight shouted, flailing her hose a bit dramatically. This isn't like the last time with the Griffin Ambassador, is it? Sunset asked, perfectly calm as she read her book, practically ignoring Twilight's latest panic attack. Poor Mare had a tendency to let her imagination run away with her and go to dark and frightening places. She really needed to work on that before she wound up in real trouble someday. In Sunset's opinion, Twilight was beyond lucky that Gregorius was so understanding about the fairy's elaborate plan that, naturally, blew up in all their faces. She winced a little at the memory. It had taken a whole week for her mane and coat to grow back into enough she could go outside again. No, it's nothing like that! Twilight fumed. Like it was her fault Gregorius had exhibited all the classical behaviors markers of a spy, making her suspect him. Or, what about the time with the zebra scholar you thought was just a pony disguise? Spike asked. No! Spike frowned. This isn't going to be like that time with the humming monkey thing, is it? Human! And I know what I saw, even if I can't figure out where it went. Lyra believes me! Heartstrings believes in sea ponies in the Rainbow of Light, Sunset clicked back. This isn't another shapeshifter incident, is it? Shapeshifters are real! Her counterpart insisted, which, while technically true, didn't do much to support her assertions. So, it's about that again, Shimmer replied, face shoving slightly into the implications. No, it's not shapeshifters! It's something completely different! Nightmare Moon is going to escape at the summer sun celebration and cover the world in eternal darkness! Twilight cried out in desperation. The rest of the room just stared at her. What? Sunset closed her book with a sigh. There was no way of completing the tome today, it seemed. Nightmare Moon? The evil spirit from the Nightmare Night? The one fools leave candy for or else they'll get gobbled up? That Nightmare Moon? Yes! Replied Twilight, excited that somepony was finally listening to her. Nightmare Moon is going to escape her prison soon. Yes! Somehow defeat Celestia, not if we can help it, and cover the world in eternal darkness. That's the situation, yes, Twilight said. Apparently found a quill, ink, parchment, and was now composing a letter in haste. Sunset, meanwhile, was still staring at her fellow student, jaw hanging open in shock and dumbfounded belief. And you honestly think that this is going to happen today? Why? I read it in a prophecy in a book, she explained, as if that was the end-all, be-all of any argument. Spike, send this at once. It is very urgent. The dragon complied with a salute, igniting the offer scroll and sending it off magically to Celestia. Sunset nearly sighed, and waited for the inevitable rejection letter for whatever Twilight had proposed. She might have been a brilliant spellcaster, but she had this annoying tendency to overreact to anything not being perfect, a trait Sunset always found so aggravating. That and the anxiety attacks made dealing with Twilight almost as difficult as... Okay, she didn't have an analogy ready, but still! Maybe this will be the final straw, and Celestia will float her crazy mare out into some clinic so I never have to see her again, and then I'll have Celestia all to myself again. She's probably been holding me back this entire time anyway. A treacherous little voice in the back of her mind suggested. She quickly ignored the notion and did her best to feel bad about the thought. She wasn't a bad pony anymore. Celestia had shown her that the ability to be a good pony, and not a monster. Sometimes she wondered if Twilight wasn't just picked because of whatever had happened during her entrance exam, and if that both the princess and Twilight had refused to comment on, but because she would also be a great test of how much Sunset reformed, or a punishment of how I used to be. No! Bad idea! La 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 la! I'm not thinking that! Or maybe my replacement if I ever go bad like I almost did. La 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 la, not listening! Sometimes she wished when Celestia had checked out the voice in her head, it turned out to be some lingering side effect of her brief fling with dark magic, or even just garden variety sanity. But there had been no dark energy, no simple disorder. She was just her. And apparently, she was just naturally a jerk who didn't like any pony else but herself. She was getting better, though. Ah, why does redemption have to be so hard? Not for the first time, Sunset wondered how many voices were in Twilight's head, and debated whether or not it was a horrible thing. That answer was, more than me, or as he was just being honest. However, any furry musings under mutually unstable mental states was interrupted by Spike belting out the princess's reply. Twilight eagerly accepted the scroll. Reading through it, her enthusiasm slowly dying as he read through, eventually replaced with annoyance and frustration. With a mumble, she floated off to Sunset. Here, it's for you too. Now, if you excuse me, I need to go pack. Stunned that Celestia had promptly dismissed Twilight. Yes! No, feel bad for her! Sunset quickly picked up the scroll and began reading. To Twilight Sparkle, my faithful student. Sunset twinched a little at the feeling of the slight barb against her own character, even as he reminded herself that Celestia was too nice to ever do such a thing on purpose. Taking a breath, she continued. I am most pleased to see that you take the idea of independent study so seriously, delving deep into equestrian lore and legend. However, your worries about Nightmare Moon are greatly exaggerated. I know you enjoy studying, but there is a thing as enjoying studying too much. You spend way too much time with your muzzle buried in the dusty old tomes, when you need to spend more time with other ponies. I know you spend time with your brother, Sunset, Spike, and myself, but that's hardly a social life. In fact, think about it. Sunset isn't any better off in her own situation. She winced again. It was hard making friends when you used to be an insufferable jerk to everybody that you met out of a sense of entitlement. There was probably no pony in Canterlot who would be friends with her. Thinking about it now, I have the perfect solution for both of you. What? A change of scenery might be the thing. This year, the lottery has selected the nearby town of Ponyville to host a summer sun celebration. I want you and Sunset Shimmer to go to town, check up on preparations, and make sure nothing goes wrong. And, while you're there, you two can also meet new ponies and make some friends. Pack your bags. You'll be leaving this afternoon. Yours, Princess Celestia Astros of Equestria. P.S. Oh yes, be sure to tell Sunset all about this. Ding! Having finally finished the letter, and then rereading it again to make sure she hadn't made a mistake, Sunset looked up to see a grumpy and fully packed Twilight standing back at her. We're going where? Chapter 2. Let's just get this over with. This is totally Twilight's fault. Shut up. She finally dragged me down with her all her crazy. Quiet! If it weren't for her beloved little breezy tails, I'd be back in the library learning something useful. Well, I think that maybe I do need to get out and make friends. This place is freakily officially named Ponyville! To that, Sunset had no real answer for herself. The name was so painfully generic, it almost sounded like a bad joke. Or a generic place to set a children's book, complete with Once Upon a Time. Like, any good story started with those. Once upon a time, in the magical land of Equestria, there were two sisters who held sway over day and night. The younger sister, driven to jealousy by the lack of appreciation her knight received, turned to dark magics to soothe her pain, and claimed the respect she felt she deserved. Nobody would be able to ignore her anymore, for her knight would last forever. The elder sister sought to turn her beloved sister back to the light, but failed. In grief, she did what she had to do. Using the elements of harmony, she sealed Nightmare Moon, the monster her sister had become, into her own beloved moon in the night sky. And there she stayed for almost 1,000 years. Ah, cheer up, guys. Look at it this way. We get to enjoy the entire summer sun celebration right where Celestia will be. I mean, she only holds it in Canterlot in what? Every 6 years? Spike noted, trying to cheer up his friends as they flew onto Royal Sky Carrots. That just means we could see Celestia raise the sun back home in Canterlot next year instead of wasting time here while Nightmare Moon prepares to destroy us all! Twilight insisted, pacing around the cramped carriage in her anxiety, as much as the presence of the other passengers would allow. Actually, judging by how sore Sunset's hose and Spike's feet were, pacing considerably more than their presence should allow. Doing a little bit of mental math, Sunset realized that this meant 5 full years passed since that day. It seems like it was so long ago at times. Other times it feels like I ruined my life around just yesterday. That's because I'm crazy. Eh, I can live with that. Once upon a time, in the magical land of Equestria, there was a princess who held sway over night and day. She felt lonely, and went out to the land to find somebody to meet to liven up her day. Often she traveled in disguise, finding joy in meeting new ponies who would never dare to speak to her if they knew she was a princess. However, on this day she met a remarkable little filly named Sunset Shimmer who, like the princess, had the key mark of the sun itself. Sunset Shimmer was very skilled in magic, and had a very large amount of magical power. So impressed was she by the display that the princess dropped her disguise, and offered the young filly to be her student. The young girl agreed, and the two became teacher and student. However, over time, Sunset began to grow arrogant, boastful, and entitled. She felt that as a powerful mage and student of the princess, she deserved to be treated special just for being her. When studying under the princess did not yield the power she wanted fast enough, Sunset Shimmer turned to the darker arts. The princess, having learned from her failure with her sister, confronted her student before it was too late. They talked for a great length of time, and, in the end, Sunset Shimmer saw the error of her ways. Seeking forgiveness for her foolishness, she cast aside dark magic, and swore to strive to always be a better pony. The princess forgave her readily, for tears of joy in her eyes. And so the student came and watched her mentor raise the sun upon the longest day, stood at her sister's teacher's side, and there she stayed for almost 5 years. Calm down, Twilight. Nothing bad is going to happen. Sunset said so herself, didn't she? Unless you think she's wrong. Sunset noted with mock concern, like a parent trying to kid it who see if they were being silly. Twilight stopped her pacing and stared at Shimmer. What? No, of course not! The princess can't be wrong, and don't use her name like that. Even if we are her students, we need to show her proper respect, she declared. She really and truly despised Sunset's bad habit of driving Princess Celestia's title so casually and failing to show formal recognition. That's because she was a senior student. Right. So, if Princess Celestia said nothing bad is going to happen, nothing bad is going to happen. Just calm down and do those breathing exercises. And who knows? Maybe meeting some new ponies will do you some real good. Twilight did as asked, breathing in and out in a slow rhythm while using her foreleg to measure time. Despite assurances to the contrary, she knew something bad was going to happen. Maybe not from Nightmare Moon, then from herself. Once upon a time, in the magical land of Equestria, there was a princess who raised the sun. Once a year, on the longest day of the year, she did it all before the public, and it was beautiful. Attending one such performance was a young filly named Twilight Sparkle. After seeing the princess raise the sun, Twilight fell in love with magic. Afterwards, she went home and began to study, and study, and study, and study some more. Her parents were so impressed by how well she was doing, they decided to send her to a special school. However, the school would not let her in unless she passed the test and hatched a dragon egg. The little filly tried and tried, but no matter what Twilight did, she couldn't hatch the egg. Suddenly, there was a bright flash, and little Twilight's magic went surging out. She hatched the egg, but it turned into a giant dragon. The school board was sent flying around the room, and Twilight's parents were turned into potted plants. But then the princess came, and stopped Twilight's magic. She set the school board down, returned the parents to normal, and even shrank the dragon back down to a baby. Amazing what the little filly, who had just earned her cutie mark, could do, Celestia invited her to become one of her personal students, for she really couldn't see how different it would be to have 2 exceptional students instead of 1. Twilight and her parents agreed, so Twilight met the princess's other student, Sunset Shimmer. Twilight came to realize that the princess, Sunset, and herself were simply way more powerful than unicorns. Sunset had even said so herself on a couple of occasions. Twilight realized that being so powerful, and to be able to lose control, she needed to be very careful and to do things just right. Until she could, she would do her best to avoid normal ponies until she was sure she wouldn't hurt them. So, she locked herself away from the world with her books. And there she stayed for almost 5 years. Twilight was only starting to feel marginally calmer when Spike shouted, "We're here!" Looking down, they had indeed run to Ponyville. Nothing like too extraordinary, so far, to make it stand out from the other little towns throughout the land. Thatched roof houses, a few shops, a farmer's market, a giant gingerbread house. Okay, maybe some things stand out. After the carriage landed and the passengers got off, Spike riding atop of Twilight as he often does, Twilight turned to their drivers with a smile. "Thanks, guys!" Oh, yes. Thanking ponies. Right. Thanks! She quickly added, as Twilight once again led by example on how to be nice to other ponies. giving an exaggerated wave and a large smile as the Pegasi guards drew off with their carrots. He sighed and stopped once he had flown off. I didn't have to be so hard to be good. Taking another look around, Sunset levitated her copy of the list of preparations to check. All right, we're here and we've got a job to do. Let's get this over with. Chapter 3. Oh boy, Tartarus, I'm on fire! Okay, since there are two of us, Sunset began, before being interrupted by Spike, who did an attempt at getting confident in his paw. I'm sorry, were you actually planning on walking around all over town by yourself today? And the dragon's sudden faking of interest in the sky around him. So he sparked a bit. Like I was saying, since there are two of us, I say we should split up the work. I'll handle the carers, you handle the patisserie. You get musician A, I'll get B. You get the decorator, I'll get the weather team. Then we can meet back at the place we're staying for lunch. So he concluded, feeling clever enough for having a simple solution to what would otherwise take them all day. Twilight nodded and looked over her own copy of the list flowing right next to her. Right then, where are we staying? I didn't read that far ahead. Realizing what was about to happen, Sunset quickly folded her own ears and covered them as Twilight's eyes grew giant as he squeaked at a pitch that constitutes torture in any civilized land. A library! We get to stay in the library! Yeah, because that's so different from what we normally do. Sunset noted sarcastically, as Spike digged a claw into his ear to try to get rid of the ringing sound. Sunset rolled her eyes and gave a small smile. Twilight's overreactions could be annoying at times, but on occasion, they were just cute. Besides, it's not her fault she's crazy. Right. Anyway, we better get going, Sunset said, turning and smacking face to face with a pink earth pony with a poofy, pinkier mane. Remembering her manners, Sunset apologized. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I'm Sunset Shimmer, and these are my friends Twilight Sparkle and Spike the Dragon. We're new in town, I was wondering... Anything else he was going to say was lost as the pink pony gasped, leapt in the air and turned around and ran up so fast they hit up a dust cloud. Coughing and trying to clear the air, Sunset called after the fleeing mare, That was rude, you know! Slowly realizing what this meant, she turned to her colleague with a huge grin. Twilight, did you see that? I was the polite one there. Me! I'm getting more polite than somebody else! All right, Shimmer, good job. Twilight congratulated her, trying not to roll her eyes. Sunset didn't even notice Twilight's dry tone as he bounced around happily about her Elias Mare accomplishment. Really, she treats learning a new and difficult spell after days of study like a non-event, but she gets excited over doing the most minor good deed. Still, Twilight found it cute in a way. It wasn't Sunset Shimmer's fault that she was crazy. By the time Sunset Shimmer had arrived at the farm, Sweet Apple Acres, her good mood had died. It just had to be so freaking out of the way from the proper town, didn't it? She didn't really have a lot of endurance, being both a unicorn and a scholar, in fact. Sunset had to admit that Twilight was in a lot better shape than her. Carrying Spike around all the time had actually helped keep her in shape. Maybe I should have checked the address before dividing them out. That way I could have given Twilight all the hard ones. I'm just going to blame that on being tired, which is why I can't think of a good argument because I am tired. At least she was at the farm and could sit down and take a long rest. Well, hello there, Sugar Cube! Whoa, you don't look so good. A strong voice called out. Looking to her left, she found herself face to face with a blonde-maned, orange-coated earth pony wearing a rancher-type hat. Oh, hi. I'm Sunset Shimmer from Canterlot. I'm supposed to check up on the catering for the celebration. She paused to catch her breath and wipe a sweat down her foul. I'm fine, just a little out of shape. Thank you for your concern. She added that last part quickly, in a large smile. Blinking a bit in confusion at how enthusiastic her guest had been, the earth pony chuckled nervously. Yeah, alright. The nice Applejack. Well, if you want to check up on our cooking, you came at the right time. Now, why don't we just sit down over here in the shade and cool off for a while? She suggested, bustling over to a picnic table that was set up already. Sunset nodded and followed Applejack, whose cutie mark was a trio of red apples, she noted, over to the table and sat down, feeling some relief. Yeah, it feels so much better in the shade than out in the sun. Thank you very much. She couldn't afford to be rude to somepony, hoof-picked by Celestia for such an important job after all. Right. Anyway, while you're here, why don't I introduce you to the rest of the family? AJ suggested with great enthusiasm. Sunset looked rather nervous at the idea. Oh, I'd love to, really, but I'm on a tight schedule, so maybe if we could go over the menu instead. Shoot, that ain't no problem. Now let's think about being part of the Apple Clan, as we could do both at the same time. Let's hear Scaramel Apple. she said, introducing a Mare who had dropped a candy-like namesake onto the table. Oh, nice soup, apple freighter, AJ continued, as another Mare dropped off a matching treat. Hello, I'm Apple Saru. Nice soup, Apple Tart. Hello, I Apple Chris. Yes, I Red Gala. But sour apple. What? Applesauce. Cold and delicious. Grr, apple cider. Grr, apple turnover. Since his eye was switching over to himself. Blake Macintosh, Green Smith, Apple Bloom, Biopsy, Fuji, Red Wine, Apple Sleep, Green Apple. Does anybody in your family take cold showers? Sunset shouted in frustration. Then, seeming to realize what she had just said, she clapped her hose over her mouth and quickly sunk down underneath the table to hide. Applejack, meanwhile, was just shocked at how rude that outburst was. Glaring, she quickly dove under the table to give that Mare what for, but stopped on seeing her curled up or rocking back and forth while crying. Obviously, she felt bad and was miserable. Clearly, yelling would not help with anything. With a sigh, Applejack sat down next to her and put her hoof on Sunset's shoulder. Instantly, her guest was up and hugging. AJ crying her eyes out. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I'm a bad pony. I'm sorry. Sunset blurted out quickly while clinging to Applejack like she was life preserver in a storm and tossed sea. Patting Sunset on the back, speaking in the same tone of voice she used to calm Apple Bloom after a nightmare, AJ worked to calm the hysterical Mare. Lair. You're only a bad pony. If you were, you wouldn't be down here crying about it now, would you? You're just hot and tired. And not going so fast probably wasn't helping at all. Now then, if you're feeling better, let's all head on up and you can apologize. Then we'll sit down to lunch. Sound good? With a wordless nod, Sunset followed Applejack back up and looked out to the assembled apples. I am so sorry I snapped like that. I just had a long day, and it was a bit hot and tired, but that's no excuse. So, since everything looks good, and I don't want to cause any more trouble, I'll just leave. She announced, and got up to do that, before doing her best to ignore the family's plea for her to stay. Even if they did forgive her, Sunset felt it was better she had just left. At least, that was her intent. What stopped her was a little yellow filly, so small she didn't have her cutie mark yet, wearing a big red bow in her mane, staring up at Sunset with giant, watery puppy dog eyes. Aren't you going to stay for lunch? Quick! Evil jerk me! Do something! Well, I guess even at my worst, I'm not as evil enough to say no to that face. With a sigh of defeat, Sunset smiled at the little kid. Okay, you win. I'll stay. She was a little surprised at how enthusiastic the apples were at her stay. Tried her best to pay attention to what they were saying to her. Well, could be worse. This whole Twilight's having an easier time of it than me. So, Twilight, what's a patisserie anyway? A pony that specializes in making pastry desserts, like cakes, pies, donuts, and so on. They're often so skilled in the art of candy making. Usually, the candy is used to make eccentric pastries, but some sell it separate. So it can also refer to a shop specializing in the same type of products. Twilight exposited as he tried along. Check was in Spike's capable hands. I'm just surprised Sunset took the two that were furthest out of town in opposite directions even. She must have felt like she could use the exercise. That, or she didn't bother checking where everything was before dividing it up, Spike said, rolling his eyes. You know how lazy she can be sometimes. It was now Twilight's turn to roll her eyes. I don't believe any student of Princess Celestia could possibly be that lazy. The princess wouldn't allow it. Twilight, hun, remind me to introduce you to a universe where Rainbow Dash is Princess Celestia's personal student. Then we talk. How about when she finally got teleporting down and declared she was never walking again? That was only for a week, and it was mostly her being excited about learning the spell. Heck, I'll probably be just excited when I get it down. Twilight came to a stop and looked up. Hey, this is the place, isn't it? Spike was about to retort that the only reason he felt Sunset stopped was because he figured out that teleporting was actually more work than walking short distances, blinked as the non-secretary looked up. It was a rather nice, pale canary yellow store with a large blue piece of red candy serving as the logo on the sign hung above the door, and the word bonbons written on it. Oh, yeah, this is the place, Twilight, Spike said, checking the list quickly to make sure. So, I guess we go in then? Taking a deep breath and gathering her nerves, steeling her will for the task, Twilight walked to the shop to the tinkling of cheery little door chime. Well, she hadn't messed up anything so far, so all in all, it was going better than expected. Hello? Is any pony here? I'm here to check up on the preparations for the summer sun celebration. Coming. I just have to pop these tarts into the oven. I'll be there in just a sec. There we go. A voice from the room beyond the counter, where Twilight assumed the kitchen was. The owner of the voice, an earth pony mare with a cream-colored coat and a blue and pink mane and tail done in a bob style, came walking into the room with a gentle, warm smile on her face. "Oh, hello, dear. Don't worry. Tarts take a bit to cook. So while you're here to check up on everything, then, it's lovely to meet you. My name is Sweetie Drops." "My pleasure to meet you, Miss Drops." And that was Spike, and I'm Twilight Sparkle. Her passenger waved at this. "So, is Bonbon not available, then?" she asked, looking around and frowning as Miss Dot's got a bemused look on her face. "Oh, you must be from out of town, or else this is your first time coming here. There is no pony named Bonbon, dear." Seeing the confused look on the unicorn's face, she continued, "When I commissioned the sign when I first opened the shop, the sign was supposed to be Bonbons, as in candied plural. But apparently poor old Mr. Pink there misunderstood. He's getting on in years, you know. He thought it was the owner's name and did such a nice job, I didn't have the heart to tell him otherwise. I thought about it once or twice changing it ever since. But it seems to be a hassle for doing something so harmless. It makes a great conversation starter, don't you think?" She then realized that Twilight didn't seem to be paying attention. She had a look of distracted distress on her face, and was even twisting slightly. "Dear, what's wrong?" "It's a mistake! Mistakes are bad. Why are you not upset at the mistake? If you're okay with this mistake, what about with the cooking? If Princess Celestia eats cookie was a mistake, she'll get upset. Then she'll blame me for it because I was supposed to check up on everything. And then I'll be banished and elected to prison where she banished me to!" Twilight started hyperventilating at this point, prompting Spike to pull a paper bag out of her salad bags and slap it on her muzzle. "Sorry about that. Twilight has some exciting issues when it comes to getting things done perfectly. The little details set her off sometimes," Spike explained, rubbing Twilight's back to help her calm down. "Oh, dear. Well, there's no need to worry. Cooking sweets to eat is my special talent. I never put anything subpar out, especially not at an event like this," Slee said, turning to show off her cutie mark that was a trio of blue-red candies like the sign out front, though each of these spotted a yellow stripe as an accent. "You know, it's really interesting how I got this. You see, there I was, a filly trying to think of something to do, bored out of my mind, and then this big rainbow—" Her story was cut off by the ringing of a timer from the kitchen. "Oh, that's the biscuits. I'll be right back, dear." Popping into the kitchen, she quickly went to sorting out the ovens, humming a tune around her oven as she worked. Having a lovely idea, she grabbed some tea she made earlier for the lunch break, some biscuits from a previous batch, and grabbed a tray set for two, and back to the main entry to find a thankfully much calmer Twilight. "Feeling better, dear?" At the unicorn's nodding, she smiled warmer, if that's possible, as she set the tray down to the small table she kept, or those that wished to eat their purchases right there in the store. "I just had the most wonderful idea. Why don't we sit down for a moment and have some tea with some of my biscuits? That way, you could give a sample a try tomorrow, and then we could both relax for a few minutes. It could be very stressful prepping for a big event, you know. I've been cooking stuff all day yesterday and today trying to get my usual stock in. Taking tea every now and then does wonders." Twilight sat down, poured herself some tea, smelled strongly of lemongrass and bluebells, and then picked up a biscuit. It was one of those dessert biscuits, chocolate by the looks of things. She took a small nibble, stopped, and smiled, dipping the other end into the tea. She took a larger bite and finished it off. "These are good!" she noted, while taking a sip of tea. While not up to the standards of what Princess Celestia had brewed at the palace, it was nonetheless a rather enjoyable blend. Still, few could ever hope to match the palace brewmasters, even with a proper special talent. So, Twilight knew she was a bit spoiled when it came to tea. For somebody without the proper matching cutie mark to make tea this good, they were rather skilled. Twilight's opinion of Mrs. Drops went up mid-nonsense. "I'm sorry I politely put out bad food. I was panicking and it was rude of me, Miss Drops." "Oh, you could just call me Sweetie, dear. Or if you really want to be formal, Miss Drops. I do have a special somepony, but we haven't tied the knot yet," Sweetie explained with a smile, taking a sip from her own cup, as Twilight remembered to tie newlyweds' tails together with a ribbon for a day was the earth pony equivalent to unicorns changing horn rings. "And don't worry about your panic attack, dear. I'm sure must awfully be stressful making sure everything is just perfect for the princess. She's quite lucky to have a worker dedicated as you." Twilight beamed at this. "Actually, I'm one of Princess Celestia's personal students in the art of magic. As such, I have an even higher obligation to do my best to ensure everything goes well." "Oh my! One of Princess Celestia's personal students?" Sweetie noted, amazed that somebody so special had come to her little shop for so minor a job as checking up a brew preparation. Then again, Celestia thought herself was going to be visiting this year, so that might have warranted a higher caliber of inspector now that she thought about it. That sounds very impressive, dear. You must have done something quite amazing to get the princess's attention like that. Sweet Johnson had expected an interesting story then. When how Twilight came to study under Celestia, what he had not expected was her reaction. Twilight got up, put on her bags, telekinetically placed Spike on her back, and started heading out the door. Thank you for the tea. It was good, but I have to get going. I have a lot of things to do to inspect today. With that, she was gone. Sweet, meanwhile, sat there confused. Was it something I said? Sunset wanted nothing more at this point to figure out a time travel spell so she could go back in time and switch the first two locations with her on Twilight's list. The family was so friendly they probably could have broken Twilight out of her shell. And, as a bonus, Sunset wouldn't be walking to the opposite of town on a completely bloated stomach. Normally, she would have teleported back to her starting point in the middle of town to cut her walk in half, but teleporting still made her a bit queasy. Considering just how much she had eaten, that would have probably been a terrible idea. Just as she begun to think that nothing could be worth this walk ahead of her, came sweet, soothing music. Creeping up quietly, not wanting to disturb the performers he had come to expect, Sunset was treated to an amazing sight. A butter-yellow Pegasus, her long pink mane and tail a color match for the two trio butterflies on her cutie mark, was conducting a chorus of birds and singing a truly beautiful version of the Equestria National Anthem. Oh, for when Celestia arrives at stage, I didn't realize the anthem could sound this good. He's got real talent. Walking up and smiling, she introduced herself. Hi, I'm Sunset Shimmer, and was as far as she got before the startled birds flew off, and seemingly equal startled Pegasus dove into the bushes. Sunset immediately assumed the worst, which naturally meant it was her fault. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. Now your birds flew off, and I'm interrupting your practice, and I'm sorry. I'm such a bad pony. She confessed, and tears in her eyes. Yellow Pegasus also came out then, tears in her eyes. No, I'm sorry. I've overreacted, and now my birds live is not a big thing, and I made you feel bad. You're not a bad pony. I'm sorry for making you feel that way. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry for being a bad pony, and now I'm making you feel bad. I'm sorry. Sunset apologized. I'm sorry I'm making you feel bad, too. The Pegasus echoed in her own sorrowful way. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This went on for quite some time. Twilight, you okay? Spike asked nervously. Having been a newborn baby at the time, Spike didn't remember what happened at the time, but he did know that Twilight never liked to even think about her entrance exam. I'm fine, Spike. I just need to get back to work. What's next on the list? Twilight asked as she tried to town, wanting to get the job over and done with. Okay, if you say so. You quickly checked the list. Alright, next is music with a group called the Ponytones. There's no address listed, Twilight, so I have no idea where they are. What? Twilight shouted, causing those around her to stare for a few seconds, before moving on quickly. What do you mean there's no address? How am I supposed to find the Ponytones then? Does Hope Somepony conveniently walks up and tells me where they are? Did you say the Ponytones? I know where they are, a child's voice called out. Blinking a bit, Twilight turned and looked right at the beaming face of the little white unicorn filly, with a two-tone pink and purple mane and tail. Seriously? She asked in a deadpan manner. She had been sarcastic after all. Yeah! The filly announced with a slight squeak. Was this my sister? I was speaking to them once. They're in a park and we could go together! The filly announced, and Twilight noticed that the kid had a little red wagon loaded up with a picnic basket for her to pull along. Consigning herself to fate, Twilight nodded and followed along the eager young filly, wondering what else could go wrong today. After several minutes of uncomfortable silence, she felt the need to speak. So, my name's Twilight Sparkle, and this is Spike. What's your name? My name is Sweetbell, the filly replied, causing the elder mare to stop and blink at the coincidence. Was every pony she met today going to start their name off with Sweet? My big sister Verity is working really hard with all the others, so I decided to bring some delicious surprise. I made it myself, she announced, pride shining through her happy smile. That's great. I'm so sure Verity will love it. It was so nice to see a sibling love in action. Twilight remembered doing things like this for her BBBFF back when she was little. Before she had time to think about it further, they arrived at the park, and they could see in front of them a trio of ponies was practicing. A white unicorn with a purple mane, probably Rarity, noticed them and motioned for the two compatriots, both their ponies, to take a break. One was a blue-on-blue stallion who was a bit lanky, while the other was a larger tan mare with a yellow-streaked red hair done up in an elaborate bun. Both of them seemed glad for the break, and quickly sat down, talking between each other as Rarity walked over. I love that, Sweetie Belle. Libigas, you made us lunch? She asked, Twilight noting a slightly strained tone in Mare's voice. Sure did, sis. I made sandwiches and applesauce and juice. Sweetie Belle replied, pushing the cart forward with a bit with her nose. That's nice, dear, Verity said with a noble strain in her voice. So, who's your friend? Twilight resisted the urge to face off. Of course, her little sister showing up with a total stranger would be a cause for concern. Hi there. My name's Twilight Sparkle, and this is my sister Spike. We're here to check up on the preparations for the summer sun celebration. I trust everything's going great? Verity immediately brightened up. Oh, of course. We're practicing right now and everything, at least as best as we can without a bass singer here. Noticing Twilight's mounting nerves, she quickly cut it off. Not that this adds to the problem, darling. Big Mac's busy helping his family farm with the catering. He's quite talented enough as it is. A little last-minute practice is something he's good enough to be able to miss. No problem. Twilight calmed down. She nodded. The ponytails isn't any of our main jobs, but we all put enough time to it. It's not a problem. Now then, I assume you have other areas to check? Right. Everything looks good here. So what's next on the list? Spike? Spike? She looked over her shoulder to find Spike pacing out. Spike! What? Oh, right. Next up on the list is... decorations at Town Hall. Quick off the list. Decorations. I would have loved to try my hoods at it, but the ponytails pays better, and like Big Mac, I'm not good enough to skip out on practice to do another job. Sweetie Belle, why don't you go tell our friend Twilight way to Town Hall? She's new in town. It's the least we can do to help her out. Okay, sis, come on, it's this way! She sighed, before running off with the sort of speed only an excited child can have. Hey, wait up! Glad to meet you, and everything's gonna be okay. Bye! Twilight hurried through, running off after the little filly as fast as she could. Once they were out of sight, Verity dropped her smile and let out the brush she had been holding. Opening the basket of resignation, she just shook her head. Oh, even the juice. How does one exactly burn juice? Most pony would throw such thoroughly burnt fruit out. But, well, it was made with her sister's love. On the side side, she bit into her sandwich with loud grunts. It said something that she was getting used to this point. It wasn't even a struggle to eat it anymore. Also, she had enough experience to tell what burn rhino was what. I finally figured it out. Ponyville isn't real. I died and went to Tartarus. Okay, it's been an emotionally scarring day, but so far, it can't get any worse, right? As proof that Murphy was hard at work, even in universes he had never been born in, that was the exact moment that a high-speed Pegasus crashed into the sunset, knocking her into a mud puddle. Murphy is kind of a jerk like that. Sunset opened her eyes to face full of blue flank, a cloud of tricolor bolt adoring it. The owner of said mark quickly got up and turned around, revealing a Pegasus mare with a shortly cropped rainbow mane. Helping Sunset to her hose, the Pegasus looked a bit nervous. Haha, sorry about that. I was just doing some stunts practice and I kinda lost control at the end. Name's Rainbow Dash, fastest flyer in Equestria. Right, sure. You wait, what? Rainbow Dash? Quickly levitating her scroll, Sunset smiled. Oh, good. You're the local weather captain. That's great. I'm Sunset Shimmer, and I was sent to check out the proper... Why is the sky overcast? The sky is supposed to be clear and sunny. What is your team doing? Taking the day off, Rainbow replied as if it were the simplest thing ever. Sunset's eye twisted a bit. What? You know, day off, not having to work, enjoying your holiday, and winding a bit. You do take time off, right? Because you're looking a little high-strung. Rainbow nodded nonchalantly. Yeah, anyway, I volunteered to clear the sky out by myself, so they can spend some time with family and friends, you know, since I can do the job all by myself. Raindrops, of course, was a little miffed by that. Boston Ford didn't seem to mind, though. Sunset had had enough. Yeah, maybe if you worked all day instead of crashing while doing loop-de-loops or whatever. There's no way this will be ready in time now. Rainbow just rolled her eyes at this. Please, were you not listening earlier? Fastest flyer in Equestria. I don't need to work all day. I could probably clear the sky in 10 seconds flat. No pony is that fast. I am. Then prove it. There is no way. Sunset paused in her talking as Rainbow seemed to transform into her namesake, a bird that went from cloud to cloud faster than the eye could track until they all vanished. Right there, 10 seconds, people! Ha! In 10, just sky, clouds. How? Yeah, I'm awesome like that. Plus, I saved one to make up for knocking you into the mud earlier. Dash exclaimed, proceeded to hop on a cloud like she had from Sisson, destroying it and giving Sunset an instant shower. leaving her looking somewhat like a wet dog. You seem, you look, right? She said, ringing her laughter in Sunset's glare. One spin dry coming up. Spin what? Sunset's question was cut off as Rainbow proceeded to make one Mare tornado around her, drying her off and giving her a massive case of frenzy mane. So far today, she had been annoyed by Twilight, given a sudden job by Celestia, watched for a ridiculous distance, got mostly scarred, stuffed full of apples, wanted even more ridiculous distance, got into a I'm sorry contest, wanted even further, got tackled into the mud by Pegasus, had her view of reality shattered by a multicolored streak, got soaked with a torrent of rainwater, and spun into a personal tornado. Having taken it all in, she did the only logical course of action, and said, Nope, I'm done. And she fainted. Rainbow landed with some concern, with prying her a couple of times resulted in no response. Oh no! My awesomeness was too much for her to take! I need to get her to a hospital. Hopefully they know how to treat awesomeness over a dose! Twilight was rather glad that Sunset decided to find her work the way it was. Twilight, the more athletic one, was feeling winded trying to keep up with Sleepbell, so he had no idea how badly Sunset Shimmer would be doing. Not that either of them would need to keep up. The town hall was easily the tallest building in Ponyville, and smack dab in the center of town to boot. No one would ever need their devices to get there, even though they were so far from out of town they didn't speak Equestrian. Twilight could not figure out why Sweetie had been given such an utterly pointless job by her older sister. We're here! I did it! Sweetie teared as he bounced around, Sweetie silently on the word I. Yeah, I need to get back and see if Verity needs any more help. Bye! She called as he ran back the way she came, fueled by the seemingly limitless errands he seemed to possess when doing things he wanted to do. All right, Spike. Who's in charge of decorations? And please don't tell me their names begin with Sweetie something, or I'll suspect a conspiracy. With Twilight, it was hard to tell if that was sarcasm or an actual precautionary statement. As such, Spike breathed a genuine sigh of relief as he double-checked the list. Nope! It's somebody called Masquerade who's in charge. So, ready to go in? Longtime fans of mine are looking a little nervous. Don't worry, people. It's not the same Masquerade. I repeat, this is a Pegasus Masquerade, not the unicorn. We're fine. She's not going to assassinate anybody. Oh, are you sure? I'm positive. So, ready to go in? Yep, let's go. Twilight stepped into the hall and looked around. Brass suns in the shape of Princess Celestia's cutie mark adorned each pillar of the wall, yellow and white ribbons trailing below them like sun's rays. Banners were strung between them as well, alternating yellow and white. Twilight noticed the subtle effect of each sun being lower than the last, making her eyes drawn smoothly around towards center stage. A common but effective technique for naturally drawing attention to a specific area, in this case the main stage. Above said stage was an even larger brass sun being adjusted by Pegasus. However, back seemed to be adjusting her work. The Pegasus was an orange-yellow, and her mane was 3 bands of colors stacked like layers of a cake. The topmost layer was a sort of moss green, followed by a darker emerald blonde, leaving a teal color for the bottom. For this instance, though, Twilight couldn't make out any more details. Hello? Are you Masquerade? My name's Twilight Sparkle, and this is my sister Spike. We're here for Canterlot to check up on preparations before Princess Celestia arrives. Right. Be with you in just a moment. Just trying to figure this thing out. It's better there, so it doesn't attract their attention, or slightly upstairs, so everybody's eyes are drawn to the area. It's so hard to judge. I've never had to set up anything like this before. Usually Rarity handles fancier events like these, but she's busy at the moment. Masquerade explained as she just hovered there, held her chin as he studied the scene. She had a bit of an accent Twilight just couldn't place, but it sounded very smooth. I just can't seem to decide. What's your opinion on the matter? Twilight had been expected to put on a spot like this. Well, I only know basic theory about guiding sightlines, and that was really only related to my studies in illusions, so I don't know how helpful that would be for something real. So he started walking closer to the main stage, to get a closer look, and hopefully make a more informed decision. Oh, please. Illusions are no less fake than real life. Both are full of ways to influence people. Take the banners. You know they're slight lines because you study it. To anybody else, they're pretty, but let's focus on the stage. Masquerade explained, floating down for a landing. In the end, it's all about knowing how to not only manipulate ponies, but to make them want to be manipulated. That brought Twilight to an abrupt stop. Um, that sounds rather sinister. Have you seen my role and where loyalties lie? I was one of the main villains. Oh yeah, you were very good in that. Thank you. Masquerade snorted. Please, I'm talking about theater here. The trick's to get ponies to not question the lack of a fourth wall. Why prisoners just don't walk around the freestanding door, or why you only have 6 extra on stage if 2 whole armies are clashing. The ways to get the audience to pull into the show and not want to pull it out. Nobody questions why they do not look at the right stage area at the same time of the stage. It's all subtle clues, and I'm trying to figure out what would work best for his show. So he turned around and faced Twilight then. So, what's your opinion? Center or off center? It was then that Twilight noticed 2 things about Masquerade. Number 1, her cutie mark was a trio of teal domino masks with handles. And 2, her eyes, instead of irises and pupils, had been round cut green gems in their place. She was dealing with a twinkle-eyed pony. I see. I mean, my opinion, it looks, Twilight babbled nervously, looking everywhere but at Masquerade. The Pegasus sighed, closed her eyes, and massaged her brow in a mix of frustration and resignation. You don't have to watch your words. I'm not going to get offended if you use words like look, see, eyes, or the like naturally. I can participate in normal conversation just fine, thank you. Twilight blushed fiercely. I am so sorry. It's just that I've never dealt with, well, you know, a twinkle-eyed pony. Yeah, we're not exactly that common. I am actually surprised there are 2 of us in town the size of Ponyville. Dissy Do, local Mare, she's quite nice. She's the other one. The way I hear it, she had wandering eyes. Literally couldn't tell where she was flying most of the time. Now she's got a pair of toe passes and is flying just fine. Masquerade explained casually, looking at Twilight with an amused smile. To get your obvious questions out of the way, I see just fine. I was born blind, so getting them was no brainer once I was old enough. They're emeralds. It didn't hurt, but they itched like crazy for several months after I was done. Anything else? No. I'll just be leaving before I embarrass myself any further, Twilight said, and then promptly turned and walked to a pillar in her haste. She would have been so bad if it knocked the brass set off his moorings and released it down her head. Twilight looked down at the unconscious Twilight, then up to Masquerade. So, I don't suppose you know where the local hospital is, do you? And so it came to pass that both of Celestia's prized pupils left Ponyville General at about the same time, despite giving Twilight a break and walking beside them instead of riding her. Sunset walked slightly funny, a side effect of the thermometer the nurses had used while trying to figure out what caused her fainting spell. Once they had determined it was severe stress, they had given her a mild relaxant to let her sleep it off. It was a rather good tranquilizer once she was awake enough to deal with her stress. Well, everything's looking good on my half, except for the personal humiliation, but for some reason, I don't see the mind right now! She stopped walking and looked up, a goofy grin on her face. Look, a birdie! Hi, birdie! Twilight sighed, and she pulled Sunset in the direction of the library, her own head side with bandages. Luckily, the rat's sun had been hollow, or else it would have done some real damage. However, considering her headache, she was pretty sure she would have loved a dose of whatever Sunset was on right now. Come on, let's just get to the library where we can lay down for a bit, collect ourselves, and just relax and let our medication run its course. They arrived at the library, and she opened the door, looking forward to some nice, quiet surprise! A veritable army of ponies bellowed as streamers and confetti flew everywhere, startling Twilight and leaving the befuddled Sunset blinking in confusion. It was then that the pink pony from this morning popped up right in front of them. Were you surprised? I bet you were. I remember I ran into you guys this morning. I was like, oh, hi, Pinkie Pie. Yes, so that was my name, by the way. I'm Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie, you know every pony in town, but you don't seem to know these ponies different. You must be new in town. They're a surprise looking pony. And so I did. Find every pony in town that I could do. Well, I couldn't get every pony in town, which is okay, because I guess every pony doesn't think the library is large enough to hold every pony in town, but it is large enough to hold every pony that did show up, which is good, because I was too small. Then every pony would be cramped in, and then the party would be fun. So I guess it's lucky that the party was the right size, huh? The Mare, apparently named Pinkie Pie, ran without even pausing for breath, or having a straight tone indicating he was struggling to keep the rapid-fire dialogue going. Twilight just stood there stunned, the rapid talking, ambient nose, and music not doing her headache any favors. Sunset, meanwhile, was in a daze and just looking around, spying some cupcakes on the table. She decided she was hungry and walked over and started to eat them. She had just finished the first one and was about to start a second when she started to get a slight burning sensation in her throat and started coughing a little. Pinkie popped up. Do you like it? It's my own special cupcake recipe. You can really taste the hot sauce. She then held up the bottle she had used to making the cupcakes. Its label reading, Ghost Manticore Vengeance Pepper Sauce. Mild. Steam literally runs from Sunset's ears as her system quickly burns through the tranquilizer. The hot sauce quite possibly quite literally burning it. Now fully conscious, Sunset said the first, and at the moment, only thing on her mind. Oh, Tartarus, I am